Welcome back. At his rally in Las Vegas yesterday, Donald Trump once again suggested that he would pardon the January 6th insurrectionists in a second term. He deemed those insurrectionists hostages, victims, and warriors. He also accused the Capitol Police, many of whom were brutalized during the attack, of setting up the rioters to be arrested.
We're going to do a lot of things. We're going to look very strongly at J6. Those people, there has never been people treated more horrifically than J6 hostages. Those J6 warriors, they were warriors, but they were really more than anything else. They're victims of what happened. All they were doing is protesting a rigged election. That's what they were doing. And then the police say, go in, go in, go in. Go on in, everybody, go on in. What a setup that was. What a horrible.
Joining us now, the host of the podcast, On Brand with Donnie Deutsch. Donnie Deutsch making his way too early debut. We will have him back frequently going
15
forward.
15 years on my morning, Joe, working my way to this seat.
You finally made it. We appreciate it. Made the big time. So, Donnie, let's just start here with what with Donald Trump. This is not a new refrain, him praising the January 6th insurrectionists, but now calling them heroes and contrasting them with the Capitol Police, just a new low.
And also using the word hostages, with what's going on in Israel, we've got hostages and what we all know all too well and how sadly, but to call these guys hostages is ridiculous. And I think the J6, all of a sudden now it's a thing. He's branded it J6. And that the police said, come on in, come on in. It's just as if videotape never existed. It's as if we've never saw footage. Yes, peaceful protests.
We're showing some now.
It's just amazing how he can defy any sense of reality, and his followers believe it.
Yeah, and J6 feels the shorthanding it that way seems another moment where he's speaking to this bubble, this ecosystem on the right. Expect this video to be played a lot between now and the election.
Yeah, it's been a few years, and we've got to just continue to refresh people's memories. And when you see it, you just wonder, how can anybody vote for this side, for this, who relishes these people, who calls these people champions, who calls these people heroes and patriots and victims and hostages. And then you're staring at this and you go, what planet am I on?
Yeah, and it's going to be really important for the Biden campaign and other Democrats to just remind people what the Trump years were like, including how they ended. President Biden was in France for several days last week, and his team really set about creating an implicit contrast with Donald Trump. Biden was there for all the D-Day events, praising alliances. We know Trump has tried to sabotage NATO and other American alliances. President Biden reiterating commitment to Ukraine. We know that Trump frequently backs Russia and not Kyiv. And then even yesterday, the President Biden was at the World War I cemetery that Trump, when he was in office, skipped a ceremony there because it rained. So do you think this kind of messaging, though, is breaking through?
Well, the Biden campaign is going to be about contrast. They've been very, very clear about that. That really, let's set up side by side one guy who is serious, one guy who is stands for all the kind of gravitas and all the great things that America is all about, and another guy who's about negativity and tearing it down. And I think you're going to see a lot of this. One side talks about how America sucks, and the other side talks about elevating America and the greatness of America. And I think that's a message that's going to resonate.
So you're obviously an expert on branding and advertising and breaking through. There was no doubt, it was noted by several in the Biden camp in Wilmington, noted to me over the weekend, that this Biden trip did break through. But they acknowledged a lot of that is because, of course, the eyes of the world were going to be on the 80th anniversary of D-Day. So they were very pleased how front and center the president was. But talk to us about the challenge they're going to have keeping him front and center going forward.
Look, they have to. The American public has a great sense and a great sniff test. And if all of a sudden he's not around and they're hiding him and they go, okay, they do certain kind of events and we're going to coddle him this way, he's got to be out there, and he's got to be out there aggressive and front and center. And this all, of course, leads up to June 27th in the debate, which is going to be huge.
So the president back on the world stage in just a few days. He heads to Italy and the G7 later this week. So let's talk about that debate. I mean, it's still 3 weeks or so off, or 2.5 weeks off. He's got time to prepare. What are some of the things you think he needs to accomplish that night?
I think two things have got to happen. First and foremost, and there's not a close second, and this happened in the State of the Union, he's got to answer the question of, is he too old? Is he not there? Does he not have his punch anymore? Has he lost his fastball? So a lot of it is going to be, I don't want to say substance over style, but he's going to have to come off as full of vigor and ready to go and answer that one, oh, well, he's too old, and just answer that off the bat the same way he did State of the Union. And the second thing, and this is why this the style plays to his favor without an audience. It's really about content, and it's really about who's got a better grip on things. And I think Trump does not have the bells and whistles around him. So I think this plays to Biden. But first and foremost, he's got to come off full of piss and vinegar.
And as a last beat, you know Donald Trump for years here in New York. He's got to sit for a probation officer interview today, something that, of course, he deeply detests. Just talk to us about how you think he'll take that and what sort of impact, sentencing month off, how is that weighing on him going forward, and how that may impact what he says?
I think it is weighing on him. And I think that obviously the sentencing is going to be interesting. I mean, most people don't think he's going to get prison sentence. Neither do I. Look, all this just eats away at him. I mean, he'll be sitting there like this today at the probation meeting. Like we know his court stance. But he certainly ain't loving this. But the good news is he's back on the campaign trail, saying the things he says. So I think the great news about the trial was a guilty verdict, and he's back out on the streets now.
Yeah, the Biden team thinks that as well. They think that actually the trial sheltered him.
Yes.
And now that he's out and about, Americans will be listening to him again, be turned off by what he says. And the biggest moment for that to happen, the debate, underscoring your point, just how large that looms. Donnie Deutsch, thank you so much. We will talk to you again a little later this morning on Morning Joe.